To hurt the economy, and it's going to actually tax away jobs, which is absolutely adverse.
Let's look at some numbers here. We prepared some numbers. You have Ronald Reagan took office with an annual deficit of $74 billion, cut taxes, and by the time he left office, the annual budget deficit had doubled. Fast forward, Bill Clinton took office with a deficit of $290 billion, raised taxes, turned the deficit into a surplus of $236 billion. George W. Bush inherited Bill Clinton's surplus, cut taxes, left office with a deficit of $458 billion. Do you, sir, do you not see a correlation between cutting taxes and thus driving up the nation's deficit?
Absolutely not. In fact, let me give you a good example. During the Reagan administration, he did cut taxes. We had a tremendous economic growth, but the size of the federal government doubled during that period of time, even if you take away all of his defense buildup to try to defeat the Soviet Union. It is all about spending. We're spending way beyond our means as a nation, and we've just got to stop it. It's unsustainable. We're heading towards an economic cleft as a nation, and just slowing the train down. And actually, the president himself just a couple of days ago says he understands that raising taxes is not going to bring in any more revenue. The way to bring in more revenue is by lowering taxes on the job creators so that we can have more jobs out there, more people paying taxes into the federal government. And that's what happened in the Reagan administration. We had a marked increase in the revenue. The problem is, under Democratic control of Congress during the Reagan administration, they still spent more than they were bringing in. So we've got to do what businesses and families do. We've got to stop the spending. We've got to be financially responsible to stop this financial fiasco that's going on.
When you talk to businesses, when you talk to families, you know, the one word that resonates no matter what side you're on is jobs. And you and your party say, you know, raising taxes will kill jobs. But Bill Clinton raised taxes his 8 years in office. The economy created 23 million jobs. That is a record. By the way, these numbers are from the Wall Street Journal and the Census Bureau. George Bush cut taxes, 8 years in office, 3 million jobs. So if raising taxes automatically, irrefutably kills jobs, as your side is saying, how did Bill Clinton raise taxes and create those 23 million jobs?
Brooke, we had a good economic environment during the Clinton administration. We do not have that today. What we have is we have a business community that's overtaxed and overregulated. We have the highest corporate tax rate in the world. Every single other country in the world are lowering their corporate tax rate. And in fact, let me give you an example. I talked to a multinational corporation manager and asked him, if we lowered the corporate tax rates down from 35%, the highest in the world, down to 25%, what would his response be as a businessman? He said we would expand our plants here in the United States, and we would start hiring more people. And I said, what if we dropped them down to zero, which I had introduced a bill that would do that, actually. And he said the first thing we would do is we'd start moving the money from offshore onto shore, and we would start building plants here in America, all over America. We are chasing jobs offshore with our regulatory burden, our tax burden that's on the job creators here in America. We've just got to stop that. We've got to start bringing those dollars and jobs back to America. We do that by lowering taxes, by lowering the regulatory burden on business and industry, by getting rid of this huge debt that the federal government has.
With all due respect, we have to talk about compromise, and where would your side be willing to compromise when it comes to taxes?
Well, the president's not willing to compromise at all. He's absolutely insistent on taxing job creators here in America. He's
talking about cutting entitlements. He says some folks on the far left, none too pleased with him there. So you think, what's the far right willing to compromise on?
Well, listen, what he's saying, he reminds me of the cartoon character Wimpy, where the Wimpy said, I'll pay you tomorrow for a hamburger today. And what he's saying is you raise taxes right now, and we will give you those cuts in the future. Those are never going to happen. This is deja vu. It happened under the Reagan administration.
Will your side compromise on taxes at all?
Well, I don't see that we can or will, for the simple reason that it's going to tax away jobs, and it's going to hurt our economy. And it's absolutely adverse to the financial situation here in this country. We're in an economic emergency, Brooke, And in an economic emergency, you have to do emergent procedures. I'm a medical doctor. I've worked in emergency rooms, and I know about those types of things. And we've got to start paying down the debt. We've got to stop spending money that we don't have today. We've got to look into every single corner of the federal expenditures, discretionary as well as the non-discretionary spending, and start cutting and stop spending money we just don't have. It hasn't worked in the past, and it never will work.
Congressman Paul Broun, we're still watching to see what sides do what by August 2nd. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on.
Thanks, Brook.